So grateful and happy to be here with you and your listeners. Thank you for having me. So, I'm Claire Downing. I am a person who wears many hats professionally and personally, but professionally, I'll start with I have spent about the last 10 years of my career in the racial equity and social justice space with nonprofits, as well as in philanthropy and racial and social justice consulting. About a year ago, I started my own, it's right now solo consulting, but we'll see what happens in the future. But I started my own little venture called the Moonlight Collaborative. That came out of a negative experience of being laid off, but was something that really allowed me to explore and spread my wings of what felt most true to me at this moment. And so, after all those other professional experiences, I've really been digging deep into what calls me most in the social justice and racial equity space, combining my love for those topics and my deep passion with my academic background in conflict resolution, which we could all use a lot of right now. So it's been an interesting journey. I'm working with still nonprofits and funders across the country. My expertise beyond what I've mentioned is in working with faith communities, particularly Muslim and allied communities. So I have a lot of experience there and just bring all that to my work. So right now, yeah, in the solo consulting space, other than that, I'm a PhD candidate, still trying to finish up that dissertation, looking at negative impacts of surveillance and counterterrorism on communities in the US. I'm a first-time mom to a toddler, so lots of stuff just going on. And I'm here in the DC metro area. I live in Northern Virginia. So coming to you today with, as lots of us are, lots of heaviness on the heart. Just found out another friend is getting laid off, and there's just lots swirling for all of us, really, in different ways. So just holding that as well. But yeah, I again thank you for the opportunity, Rolando. Can't wait to get more into it.
Lots of things swirling for us. I was just on a call with someone the other day, just being reminded that history is always happening, and at each and every moment there are always folks who are resisting. Even now, the time we are spending together, I think, is a part of that history of telling stories of
Absolutely.
resistance in ways that support folks who are doing the work. Hoping that the things that
Absolutely.
you hear today will provide some connection, some sense of refueling, reinvigoration, and just a reminder that you're not alone here today. So thank you again, Claire, for being a part of this. So one of the questions that I often start these off with, it's a quote from Corey Bush that says, "Many of us do not choose to become activists; instead, we are activated." And so, when you think of your own social justice origin stories that you want to share with us today, what are some things that activated you?
Yeah, I love that quote so much. I think it was talking to someone the other day about this, about how so many of us wouldn't even include the word activist or leader or anything in our bios. It's just something that's come either from destiny or circumstance, or maybe a mix of both. And we felt pushed into this work or drawn into it in one way or another. For me, I think it's a few things. I think really I think we'll get more into this in the conversation, but faith is a big driving factor for me in the way I live my life, and also the kind of work that I want to do and the impact I want to leave when I pass on eventually. So for me, that's definitely a driving factor. And that started even before I was born. So I'm a Muslim convert. We'll talk more about that. But even within my own family, there were lots of seeds of change, people bucking norms and going their different ways, at least in the faith realm. So my mom's side of the family is originally from Ukraine and Russia, and my mom's family grew up conservative Orthodox Jewish, and my dad's family is Christian. They come from Western Europe, like England, Germany. And so even my grandfather and grandmother on my mom's side, my grandfather was pretty Orthodox and my grandmother was more Reform. And so they made a household of compromising and navigating that complexity in an environment in the 50s and 60s. And then my mom and dad got married, and that was another layer of navigation, a Christian and Jewish family navigating those dynamics. And my sister and I, we grew up Jewish, and then I began sort of navigating my identity and faith when I was a late teenager, early adult, and fell into Islam and really embraced it and loved it. And it's been really the guiding thing in my life that draws me to social justice and racial equity work. But again, started these changes and people learning to live with difference, faith difference, and cultural difference started long before I was born. So that's for me why I say both destiny and also circumstance. So I think part of the fire that was sparked for me was in that way, way before I was born. And then for me, I became Muslim in 2010, really started reading and exploring the tenets of their faith, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, many other faith leaders. Of course, we have Malcolm X, others, many converts, in fact, like myself, who have dedicated their lives to making the world a better place in the name of faith and bettering humanity, right? You don't have to be a person of faith to do this work, but there have been many in different faith traditions throughout time that have taken on that work. So really began an exploration of that and became increasingly drawn to doing good in the world. I didn't know what that meant at first, right? I had different journeys, but for me, leading up to 2016, many attacks on study communities, again, not new in 2016, it's been going on for generations, but it really pushed me further into I want to commit myself to this work and this journey. And that's where I more formally entered the social justice space in social justice philanthropy, working with Muslim communities. So I don't know that there was one event. It was more an evolution, a personal journey, a reckoning with myself about what was my place as a white person, but also someone who is impacted by structural violence and inequity, wearing hijab, being visibly Muslim, and being part of this community. So yeah, lots more to I dig into there, but it's been a long journey and it continues. There are renegotiations with ourselves throughout our lives, right, where we recommit to this work. Sometimes the reasons for our work in the social justice space change. For right now, for me, it's all the things I mentioned, and also it's a lot about community, right? Seeing my friends being attacked in different ways or navigating their challenges, and also being a not new now but first time mom wanting to protect my child, right, and leave a better world for him.
You share it's a journey. I also heard you say we recommit to the work in different ways or for different reasons. I had a question there. What's the significance of that for you?
I think for me, I've been thinking a lot about this lately, like in terms of being drawn to social justice. This is my theory, right? Or way to explain it, but it's
Mhm.
very personal, right? Whether you grew up as a member of a marginalized community or had a very personal interaction with something or somebody that shaped your life in such a way that you were drawn to that path. And sometimes I think it just takes a lot of work and self exploration, therapy, professional development training, just sitting down with yourself to understand like why you want to do what you want to do. Right. And I think for me, that's why I say it wasn't necessarily one thing. I think a lot of people have a defining moment or circumstance that places them on that path. For me, it was more of a feeling or inclination or almost like a magnetism that I've had to dig more into over time and understand why am I drawn to this? What do I want to do in a way that's authentic, right? So for me, when I initially started out working in social justice nonprofits, it was more at the high level of like, I want to do good in the world, right? And I think that's a great feeling to have. And I think the more you get into the work and the more personal it becomes and the harder it becomes, we have to really understand what's behind that and also dig into like why us, right? So for me, that's been a big exploration over particularly the past 5 years, I would say, maybe more than that, of what does it mean for me to hold these dual identities of being white and also Muslim, like in a place of power and also in privilege and also discrimination. Like it's a very strange place at times. And I've had to come, it's what's the word, like a cognitive dissonance almost at sometimes. And I've had to really do a lot of deep work, both myself and professionals with friends to understand that identity in order to access the essentially justice work in a way that's meaningful and authentic to again that plugs the leading as an individual into the best needs of the and into the system. And like called Deepa Islanders, such a best ecosystem. We all have
Oh
roles,
yeah.
etc. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes if you're just starting out or you don't have that real like personal understanding, it can stay at that high level, like, yeah, I want to do good. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, I think as your journey goes on, it's important to constantly ask yourself those questions. Like, why am I doing this? What draws me to it? What's my goal? What if I don't achieve something that is tangible or that I can see? Is it still going to be meaningful? Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's just this. eh, and again, life happens, right? Maybe you become a parent or like, you lose your job, you do this, you do that, you're part of a natural disaster, whatever it is, like, and things change for you, right? And you have to be just in a good relationship with yourself to understand that to in order to plug into the work in the best way that you could be. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you naming a couple of things. The social change ecosystem is one. I'm a big admirer of that. Resonates a lot with me. Even what we're doing now, storytelling, that's one of the ways to be a part of that system. I also liked how you shared that, hey, some people might have this singular thing, but for you, it's not a singular thing. It's sort of a collection of lots of experiences. And I'd say for folks who are out there listening and hearing you say that, you're probably in good company because I'm sure that resonates with a lot of folks too. It's lots of different things that contributed to this, which is important too.